It's 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is StoryCon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Some stars are watching this Thursday, April 23. The defense team of VP Sara Duterte says they do not want a trial by publicity amid impeachment hearings before the House Justice Committee. The lawyers said alleged financial discrepancies will be tested in court, where they expressed confidence that they can challenge the presented claims. They are also confident of an acquittal when the impeachment reaches the Senate. Meantime, Duterte slammed former Senator Sonny Trillanes in a statement denying all its allegations against her. This after an AMLAC report confirmed 18 financial transactions matching records cited in Trillanes' affidavit. Duterte also insisted that she has a clean service record and said that every cent of her wealth is legitimate. She adds all assets and funds in her possession were declared properly and supported by documents.
Malacanang, for its part, denied that Sara Duterte's travel request was approved at the last minute, saying that records show she usually receives travel authority a day before her scheduled departure. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said Duterte's requests for personal or extended trips are not being denied and are often processed within 5 working days. Castro added that the issue is not the approval but her decision to change her schedule. Duterte said she will submit a new travel request soon.
We usually expedite the processing of the travel request. What matters most now, no? Bakit nagbago ang isipan ni Pangulo or rather ni dating ni Vice Presidente? What made her change her mind is the 6.7 billion question. Sabi nga natin, ibigay ang hilig ng walang ligalig.
Leyte Congressman Martin Romualdez will pursue all legal remedies after the Sandigan Bayan issued a precautionary hold departure order against him upon the request of the Ombudsman. The former Speaker's lawyer and spokesman Ade Fajardo says Romualdez is still in the country and has not left despite insinuations that he fled. Fajardo says the lawmaker will challenge the order through proper legal forums while asserting that he complied with all requirements for his travel authority.
The Bangko Sentral raised interest rates by 25 basis points to 4.5%, marking its first rate hike in over 2 years. The Monetary Board cited persistent inflationary pressures, including the impact of rising global oil and food input costs stemming from the Middle East conflict. He added that core inflation continues to edge higher, signaling broader-based price increases in the economy.
And joining us today, StoryCon's resident political pundit. Oh, there you are. Fresh from France. Where are you from? Fresh from somewhere out there. Mr. Raul Llamas.
Mukhang nasa Hague.
Nakamute ka. Nakamute ka.
Ay, nako.
Bonsoir.
Oh, yun. Nasa France
Oh,
kasi.
akala ko you're going to the Hague. Huh?
Sa katapusan. Katapusan pa yung confirmation hearing decision.
Oo nga. Anong business mo doon sa Hague? Sa Den Haag?
Wala lang, titignan ko lang yung mga yung mga karton.
Hindi ka ba dadalaw? Hindi ka magbibigay pugay?
Hindi naman siya mapapapasok. Kasi you're not...
Ipipray over ko yung karton.
Si Ronald gumagawa ng paraan yan. Kahit saan nakakasuot yan. Natotrouble nga ako minsan dahil kung saan sumusot yan eh.
Siyempre, gusto nyo, sa Kwan pa. Lebanon pa tayo pumunta. Sasama ko si Ed.
Tito Ronald. Wala si Ami, no?
Wala si Ami today.
Not in today. Ronald, I suppose you were closely monitoring yesterday's developments.
Ha?
You want us to give you a debrief?
Ha? Ano nangyari kahapon?
Talaga makulay yung araw hapon, ha?
Pero teka lang, coming back to confirmation of charges hearing, I made a mistake a few days ago when I said yung decision yesterday was the decision on his interim release. Hindi siya interim release. It's for the jurisdiction question. Sorry, I apologize for that. Jurisdiction question, and then next week or so, we're expecting the decision on the confirmation of charges hearing, whether they're going to proceed to a full trial or they're going to junk the case.
Akala ko pa naman perfect si Reg.
Well, well. Um, so the problem yesterday. So wala ka dito. The problem yesterday is there. I mean, two different hearings that we were monitoring. Ano yung
Yes.
takeaway mo out of all of that?
Well, double whammy ito, no? Para sa mga Duterte. Yung jurisdiction hearing, ikatlo na yata yan eh. At itong huli, several issues yan eh. Yung pinagbotohan. Yung 4 out of the 5 issues, parang consensus. Yung sa huli lang, doon lang wala consensus. Pero basically, fundamentally, ay pinagbotohan with finality ng ICC na merong jurisdiction yung ICC dito sa kaso ni Digong at hindi siya pwedeng palayain. So, yung susunod na, yung confirmation na parang kunyari, probable cause hearing para pagpasyahan kung tutuloy na sa isang formal trial. No? Ang tingin ko, based dun sa mga naging previous hearing, ay halos malaki ang probability na tutuloy na doon sa formal hearing.
Actually, we were speaking with Sal Panelo last night sa Frontline Tonight and we were talking about this. If you listen to Panelo lang, mukhang ano siya, parang wala. Sigurado yan makakonfirm yung charges. Wala, sigurado yan na makukonvict yan. That's according to him, ha?
And that's not surprising because, for example, si Attorney Kaufman has said several times that they expect that the jurisdiction will be upheld. They expect that they will lose the confirmation of charges hearing decision and so on and so forth. But it's the way that he frames it. In the past, he has told us na this is all part of this is all politically motivated and it's only because the ICC needs a big win. Kasi nga according to him, they're in an existential crisis right now and they need to prove something. Right?
Ito yung first time na nag-agree ako kay Panelo.
Na
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 matatalo sa
talagang,
confirmation charges tsaka
talagang
makakonvict.
mako-convict si Digong. Dahil doon pa lang sa preliminary examination at saka preliminary investigation, which took several years, talagang sinigurado nila na kumpleto yung kanilang ebidensya. Kumpleto yung kanilang smoking gun. Tinaas nila yung level ng evidentiary requirements. Kaya halos gusto nila ay hindi sila magkamali. Dahil si Digong ang first Asian to be charged sa ICC for crimes against humanity. No? Kaya dapat maging proud tayo. No? First Asian is a Filipino to be charged with crimes against humanity sa ICC. Kaya gusto nilang sigurado yung level ng evidence.
Okay.
I'm
And
not sure.
Proud ka, Reg?
I'm not sure that's something to be proud of, to be honest. I mean, that doesn't reflect well back on us, hindi ba? The fact that we came to a point where the ICC had to step in.
Ikaw naman, tayo pinagmamalaki natin, tayo may pinakamahabang longganisa, pinakamalaking bilao ng pansit, yung mga
Pati ito daw pagmalaki natin.
Pinakamasarap na humba.
di ba? Marami tayong ganun eh.
Pinakamahal na gasolina.
Gasolina.
Ganon. Ganon yung mga dapat pinagmamalaki natin.
Filipino pride.
Okay. Sorry. So I didn't get the memo. Kayo naman. But now, dun sa kabilang hearing with the Vice President Sara Duterte, I'm sure minonitor mo din yon.
Naku, tingin ko hindi.
Hindi ba? Hindi mo napanood?
Kita mo,
Parang,
namumula pa tenga niya, pumapalak pa ang tenga niya kapon siguro.
Nabasa ko nga yung kanyang sagot eh. Parang napakalambot nung kanyang sagot. Kung nabasa nyo
Yeah.
parang wala masyadong denial. Maliban
Yung kay VP.
ay, kanyan. Hindi totoo yan. Ganun lang.
Hindi. May denial. Basahin ko.
Nabasa ko.
Yeah,
Nabasa ko.
totoo.
Ganun lang. Sabi lang niya, hindi totoo yan. Yan ay yung mga usual na banat sa akin mula sa COA, mula kay Trillanes. Pero ang very compelling kasi yung bank accounts eh. AMLA yan eh.
Yeah.
Let's
Ah,
quote,
wala yan.
let's quote from
Yung
the statement.
six-
Sabi ni VP Sara, simple lang ang sagot ko sa lahat ng paninira. Malinis ang aking service record. Hindi ako kailanman nagkaroon ng kaso sa paggamit ng pondo ng bayan. Lahat ng aking ari-arian at pera ay dineklara ko sa aking SALN. Ang bawat sentimo ay mula sa lehitimong pinanggalingan at may kaukulang dokumento. Ang mga totoong magnanakaw, hindi sa bangko pinapasok ang pera, kundi sa maleta.
So, ayun nga, may hirapan kasi yung AMLA na i-forge yung kanilang sinabi. Dahil minomonitor din sila kasi internationally eh. Hindi lang naman sa Pilipinas yung AMLA eh. No? Kung mawala yung credibility ng AMLA, grabe ang bagsak ng Pilipinas.
Yeah.
Dahil yung money laundering is an international concern. Kaya hindi ganun kadali na nagamit politically yung AMLA.
Yeah.
Well, sila Trillanes, talagang political yan. At dati lang galit yan sa mga Duterte.
Yeah.
Pero yung AMLA is something else.
Yeah.
No? Duda ako kung yan ay magagamit ng basta-basta politically. Mas ang tono kasi ng sagot ni Vice President Sara, ang tawag doon, what about TISM? Paano yung ganitong ibang nangyayari? Paano yung mga maleta? Paano yung mga ibang corruption? Kung yun non sequitur pwede namang sampahan nyo ng kaso katulad nung sinampang impeachment labang kay BBM, etc. Itong kaso ngayon ni Speaker Martin Romualdez. So ibang usapin yon. May ibang nag-unfold doon no? Pero iba rin yung kinakaharap ni Sara. Baka kinakailangan mas sagutin niya effectively yung mga lumalabas na yan. Of course, sasagutin niya yan sa Senate as a trial court.
Ron, correct lang kita, AMLAC, hindi AMLA. AMLA is the act.
AMLAC.
AMLA is the law.
Sorry.
AMLAC.
No. Yeah, AMLAC. AMLC.
Oo, and explain lang natin sa viewers na AMLAC is actually an attached agency of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, which is a very independent institution. And in fact, kahit na attached agency siya ng BSP, they are also they have a strong mandate and they're independent. Yung mga decision nila independent from the BSP decision. That's why it was given powers through the AMLA, the Anti-Money Laundering Act, precisely because of this, so that they can go after money laundering and other financial crimes themselves.
At saka, Reg, may coordination yan sa other anti-money laundering institutions
Yes,
around
correct.
the world. Nagko-coordinate sila.
The thing that's really stood out for us is yung mismatch between the reported SALNs and the amount of transactions that went through hers and her husband's account. So, case in point, yung largest amount that she ever reported in her SALN was 88.5 million pesos. That was in 2024. And as we saw yesterday, AMLAC reported that over the course of 20 years, some 6.7 billion pesos flowed in and out of her and her husband's account. That is a huge mismatch. So actually, when you look at her statement, there was a line there about everything, her wealth has always been properly reported. So I'm not sure what she's talking about there. Kasi SALN is one of those documents that she could have reported the assets, right? Here, she says all assets and funds in her possession were properly declared and supported by documents. So,
But
At saka,
should-
di ba Ed, pag mali yung SALN mo, punishable yan eh.
yeah,
well, that's
No?
the case that,
Punishable yan.
that's what we keep coming back to. Yung kaso ni former Chief Justice Corona and former Chief Justice Sereno, they were both over the SALN declarations.
Yes. Yes.
Of course, si Corona na-impeach, si Sereno na quo warranto petition. But as I said in an explainer last night, this has legal precedent already. Yung misdeclarations in the SALN.
Actually, mas maliit nga dyan yung misdeclaration ni former Chief Justice Corona.
Yeah.
Diba? Mas maliit, mas malayo.
Hindi ko na maalala yung figure, but
Meron siyang $2 million account na kinuwan. Binuksan ng AMLAC. No? Binuksan ng AMLAC. Kaya, ano ba yun? 100 million? 120 million?
at that
Na wala
time.
sa kanyang SALN.
Pero
Ito mas malaki,
there's a-
6.77 billion.
Pero Ronald, there's also an argument that's doing the rounds right now among supporters of the Vice President. The argument being even if there are questions about the inflow and outflow of money during the 20-year period, yung panahon kung kailan Vice President si VP Sara, and
Wala
of course,
naman daw masyado.
of course she's facing impeachment as Vice President, hindi masyadong malaki ang mga gumalaw na pera doon sa kanyang bank accounts for 2022 hanggang 2024, 2025. Ano ba yung
It doesn't matter, Ed. Ang sinasabi kasi sa SALN, accumulation ng kayamanan mo eh.
Yeah.
No, I understand. It's not a question of whether or not something is right or wrong. I suppose it's a question of whether the problem of the discrepancy between the SALN and the inflows and outflows of the other years before she became Vice President would have any bearing on the impeachment as Vice President.
Well, kailangan i-deconstruct at busisiin yung report na yan. No? Ano ba yung nangyari before she became President? Ano yung nangyari nung Vice President na siya? Pero ang suma total niya, dapat lalabas yan sa SALN mo eh. Diba? Ano yung suma total ng lahat ng yan? Paano yung SALN mo ay suma total ng
Assets.
kayamanan mo
Oo.
ngayon?
Correct.
Ngayon, no?
Yeah. And
So,
they were not
kailangan
declared.
pa rin ipaliwanag kahit hindi nangyari yung iba dyan na while she was a Vice President. No?
And they weren't declared. And in fact, in the years 2019 to 2024, she declared zero cash on hand, zero bank
Yes.
deposits, which obviously is contradicted by this document that we're seeing on the screen right now that was presented by AMLAC.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that there's
Ano yung-
there's that back and forth.
Ano yung
eh.
pera kasi may pupuntahan yan eh. Saan napunta? No? Saan napunta? Yun yung paano nilabas yan ni Trillanes almost 10 years
2016.
ago eh. No? Almost 10 years, 10 years ago nilabas na ni Trillanes yan eh. Hindi lang si Sara, pati yung tatay. No? Nilabas na niya yan. At siguro yung isa pang kailangang pag-usapan, saan ang galing yung pera? No?
So-
Na medyo indicatively nagsimula ng lumabas. Sami Uy, Michael Yang, these are fugitives involved in drugs. No? Nakalabas na sila ng bansa. Kaya nagugulat lang ako, bakit may paper trail? Ano ba, tingin nila hindi mabubuksan yan? Or tingin nila hindi yan may iimbestigahan? No? Yun yung nakakapagtaka dyan. No?
Yung inflow-outflow imbalance, the difference between inflow and outflow, that I know is something that the Money Laundering Council and the BSP always looks at when they're investigating alleged crimes. Kasi it raises questions about the source of funds. So for example, tinignan ko yung numbers eh. 4.4 billion flowed into both the husband and wife's accounts in that period, pero only 1.5 billion flowed out. Only 1.5 billion lumabas. So may 4.4 billion na pumasok, 1.5 billion went out. So that means almost 3 times as much money came in than went out. If we look at the numbers for Attorney Manscarpio, the gap is even wider. So almost 2.6 billion pesos in inflows and only 343 million pesos in outflows. Nakita yan doon sa chart that AMLAC presented in their cover letter to the House Justice Committee. So, yeah, there's the big gap between inflows and outflows right there that they would have to look into.
Tapos in case
Ang
Sara, the
sigurado
inflow
ko,
was 1.8
Ed,
billion.
Reg, walang laban yan sa bank accounts ni Manny Mugato.
Or sa bank accounts mo. Alam ko, ipapa-AMLAC din
Si
kita.
Mugs na naman ang sinalam mo.
Oo.
Bawa ka naman kay Mugs. Sugat-sugat na dila nun eh.
Guilty as charged.
Hindi naman tong resident political pahama kung saan-saan na lang. One day he's in
Medyo-
France, the next day he's in...
Ang problema ko, Reg, baka mahiya ako doon sa laman ng
Ngusus.
bank account.
And you say that whilst you're at a 5-star hotel in Paris, ganon.
Oo, baka mahiya ako eh.
Sorry, Ed, you were saying?
In case Sara naman, inflows of 1.832 billion, outflows of 1.211 billion. So kung i-subtract mo yan, mga 621 ang difference.
So yung compared that to her husband's accounts, mas
2.2 billion
malaki
ang
yung
difference.
inflows kaysa doon sa mas outflows.
Yeah, but reminder lang for our people, all these numbers that we're talking about, these are only for accounts or for transactions that were covered or
Suspicious.
marked as suspicious. So yung mga hindi tumama doon sa trigger mechanism,
We don't know. We don't know about them. And to recap, covered transactions is any transaction that's above 500,000 pesos.
500.
That automatically gets reported to by the bank to AMLAC because there's a threshold. And yung suspicious naman means someone at the bank took a look at it and said there are red flags here, therefore they will put in a report to AMLAC. So two different things. It's not evidence of wrongdoing yet. However, the bigger question maybe is what did AMLAC do with all of that information? We're talking about a 20-year span from 2006 to 2026. And it's not clear during the hearing kung may ginawa nga ba sila about these suspicious transactions.
mukhang wala eh. Kasi,
Kasi ngayon lang natin nalaman. We would have heard of it. Yeah.
there was this...
Tsaka, Reg, Ed, hindi lang yan yung possible na iimbestigahan. Paano itatriangulate yan, halimbawa sa Land Registration Authority? Ano naman yung mga properties na meron yung mag-asawa? Wala pa yun dyan, di ba? Ano ba yung mga sa LTO? Ano ba yung mga sasakyan na meron silang pag-aari? No? At possibly, may mga iba pang mga bank accounts na hindi pa nakasama dyan. So, hindi pa yan yung possible na total ng kanilang wealth na ibubunggo sa kanilang SALN. No?
You're correct. The AMLAC executive director was asked whether these accounts, of course, hindi siya makasagot about the nature of the accounts themselves. But ang kaya lang niya sagutin at that time was the what's contained in the covered and suspicious transactions report. And he confirmed that these are only covering bank accounts that are directly named under the Vice President and her husband.
At saka hindi pa yan talaga yung mga nasa bangko nila. Iba pa yon, baka pwede pa yung lumabas doon sa hearing sa trial sa Senado, no? Yung talagang mga pera nila sa mga specific na mga bangko.
If it gets
Yung
to
kasi
Senate.
yung kasi yung kine-question nila Suntay
Oh.
'Di ba sa Justice
Yeah.
Committee.
Yeah.
Sa iba pa yon, no?
Yeah. So they were questioning the legality of the covered and suspicious transactions report, but
Even Harry's
that's
doing that
not
now.
covered by the bank secrecy law. The bank secrecy law covers absolute confidentiality for bank records. Hindi naman kasama ang AMLAC doon. Which is the workaround that the House Justice Committee thought of, right? Because legally contentious itong pagsabina ng bank records. So they thought, okay, let's just subpoena the AMLAC report. And ito na nga, true enough, we saw what happened yesterday.
There was a long and repeated discussion in the committee over whether they're talking about whether they're talking about bank records or bank reports.
Yes. I don't know how many times Chairwoman Jinky Luistro had to say, please contain your question to the contents of the report, not bank records. As in, more than 15 times yata yung narinig ko na binilang ko of her having to tell off her colleagues to say, we are only talking about the suspicious transactions report. Hindi kasama ang bank records. Ang kulit kasi. Now, when I was watching it, I was thinking, you know, this hearing could have been done maybe in 5 hours as opposed to the close to 9 hours that they were doing. Kasi at the start, there were so many back and forth over the legality of this.
Yun ang problema pag ikaw ay si Congressman Imagination.
Si Ronaldo.
Ito pang,
ganyan na.
Papa-strike off the record ko yan. The other thing that stood out to me is the 791 pesos in undetermined transactions, in undetermined funds. Undetermined funds, usually, and they were classified as undetermined because they can't be classified as inflow or outflow. Sometimes that happens because counterparty or the recipient details are missing in the records when the funds move between the couple's own accounts or when the yung direction of the transaction could not be specified in the bank's report. So there are a number of reasons why they would classify it as undetermined. But that's a huge chunk that we don't know what happened to. Itong 791 billion pesos. Now, if AMLAC decides to investigate that further, kaya naman, pwede sila magsabina
Yes.
ng bank records para makita line by line saan napunta yung 791 pesos na yon.
Yes. It is within their powers.
It is within their powers, correct. Pero yung one of the things that they were debating about kahapon is whether or not they needed to go through the courts in order to get the subpoena doon sa bank records. Which is the
Well,
same.
para wala sigurong masabi, no? Paano nga, sabi mo nga, Reg, may gray areas yan eh.
Oo.
Diba?
I think at this point they're moving on. The next hearing is going to be about a different topic altogether, which is the threats.
The threats. And the last hearing will be on
29.
No,
29.
The first one was
Huh?
the second one was on the first one was on confidential funds, second one was on unexplained wealth, the third one is on threats, and the fourth one was I wrote it down and I forgot. What were the
Consulat eh.
was it graph? Hindi graph eh. Anyways,
Anyway, so malamang more likely than not, they'll leave it na to the Senate to dig further dito sa issue ito. They'll move on na to, yun nga, sa threats against the President and the family.
Oh, again, inuulit natin, itong Justice Committee hearing is more or less establishment ng probable
Yeah.
cause.
Parang piskal.
Wala pa masyadong detalye yan. Kumbaga, kahit itong explosive na 6.777 billion ay kwan lang yan parang heavy appetizer para do sa main meal sa Senate trial hearing.
if they transmit the impeachment complaint,
Yes.
as
Parang
Congresswoman,
Forthwith.
sorry kagagaling ko lang sa kuweba
but as Congresswoman Luistro says, don't preempt us, right? Let us do our job and we'll take it one step at a time. Although ngayon pa lang we're seeing some disagreement before they finished session yesterday. Ang pinagdedebatihan is yung BIR records na nakaseal pa, and they had Commissioner Charlie Mendoza sign it because there was disagreement on the floor amongst the committee members kung bubuksan ba siya or not. And Commissioner Mendoza, in fact, at one point wanted to retract the evidence. So nasabi na kasi ang BIR. So dinala niya yung mga documents sa Congress, and then at one point during his, when he was talking, si Commissioner Mendoza wanted to take it back kasi he doesn't think they are covered by the law in terms of divulging the records.
Why did they bring them to begin with?
Sabi niya to comply daw. Why did they bring him is a good question. Sabi niya to
You
comply.
think he can bring it with him home in case...
And then that's when Congresswoman Luistro put her foot down and said, "No, you are not bringing this back home with you. We are keeping it."
Oop, teka. Ano yun? Lalamove?
Tignan mo, we'll show videos of the box that was sealed of the tax records of the Vice President.
Imagine mo kung nagagawan sila dyan, no? Nagagawan sila dun.
Parang, oops, sorry po, wrong delivery.
So at the end of it, because they couldn't decide, they're gonna put it through a motion to vote on whether or not to open the BIR records. And it's reminiscent of Joseph Estrada.
Envelope.
Oo, the envelope.
The envelope. Wow.
The envelope. And wherein the lawmakers could not agree amongst themselves whether or not to open it. Okay?
Okay, let's bring in our mojo for today. The Sandigan Bayan 7th Division granted the Ombudsman's request for a precautionary whole departure order against former Speaker Martin Romualdez. For details, we have mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Arles, kamusta dyan?
Bok, Ed at Regina, kagabi nga anong oras na rin natin nakumpirma na kinatigan nga ng Sandigan Bayan 7th Division ang hiling ng Office of the Ombudsman na labasan ng precautionary whole departure order si dating House Speaker at late First District Representative Martin Romualdez. Nakita nga nila na meron daw probable cause na na umalis nga ito ng bansa at takasan nito yung investigasyon at posibleng pag-uusig laban sa kanya no, kaugnay nga ng mga anomalya sa flood control projects ng pamahalaan. No. Pero paglilinaw lamang na ayon din mismo sa kampo ni Romualdez, wala pang isinasampang kaso laban kay Romualdez no, at kaugnay ng flood control scam. Pero iniimbestigahan kasi siya, no, Bok Ed, Reg at Ronald ng ombudsman dahil sa posibleng plunder, graft, indirect at direct plunder, bribery rather, at money laundering. Siya raw kasi yung nakikita na mastermind nga no, nitong korupsyon sa flood control scandal ng pamahalaan at sa kanilang tansya nasa 56 billion pesos nga raw no, yung umano'y napunta dito kay dating House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Kaya ayon, humingi ng whole departure order, precautionary, ang Office of the Ombudsman sa Sandigan Bayan at actually medyo mabilis yung pangyayari. April 20 nang hilingin ito, April 21 ay pinasa nga ito and then kagabi lamang April 22, no, tama ba? Na ilabas na agad ng 7th Division yung desisyon para rito.
But Arles, we know at this point also that the defense team of Congressman Romualdez is planning to challenge it legally. Do you know what else they're planning to do there? Ano ang balak nila?
Actually, ayun yung binigay nilang dito action region no, na titignan pa daw nila no yung mga legal remedies na pwede nilang gawin kaugnay nga ng precautionary hold departure order. Hindi natin na sure kung saan na nila ito ipapasa no dahil sa ngayon talagang limitado yung naging tugon nila no kung ano na nga ba yung hakbang na kanilang gagawin. Pero ayon naman sa kanila handa naman silang harapin kung ano man yung mga reklamo at mga kaso na isasampa at ihahain laban dito kay dating House Speaker Romualdez no. Pero ayon sa kanila nandito pa rin sa Pilipinas si Romualdez sa kabila ng pagpayag ng House of Representatives na makalabas ito ng bansa. No? Ayan nga ay matapos napigilan ng Office of the Ombudsman itong hiling na actually tawag nila no, overdue na surgery, angioplasty surgery sa Singapore.
Handang
Pero
harapin.
Arles, theoretically, pwedeng umalis si Speaker Martin kagabi o
Yes.
kahapon. Dahil yung precautionary hold departure order ngayon lang in place, di ba? Kaya nitong nakaraang mga 2 araw kung saan unang pumutok itong issue na ito ay theoretically pwede pa siyang lumabas ng bansa.
Theoretically, actually, Ronald, no, dapat, yun nga yung mga bulong-bulungan kahit ng mga kapatid natin sa media, medyo naging tight lang. Kasi nung hindi pinayagan ng Office of the Ombudsman na makalabas nga siya ng bansa, no, narinig naman natin mismo mula kay Ombudsman Boyeng Remulla na they're burning the lines. Talagang kinukulit nila yung Office of the Ombudsman para pagpaalaman at payagan na makalabas ito ng bansa. Kasi kahit nabigyan na ng travel clearance ng Kamara, hindi pa rin talaga hinintay na ma-clear nga no, doon sa Office of the Ombudsman. Kaya kung maaalala ninyo nung huling beses na tumayo ako rito, Bok Ed at Ronald, tinatanong ninyo, no, yun pala yung missing piece kung bakit may ganoong pronouncement si Ombudsman Boyeng Remulla. Dahil hiniling na pala nila sa Sandigan Bayan nga, no, through their special prosecutor na hilingin na pigilan ito na makalabas ng bansa. So, in effect na ito, ayon naman sa Bureau of Immigration ay natanggap na nila at ilalagay na nga sa whole departure list ang pangalan ni Romualdez.
Pero follow up lang, Arles, mahalaga kasi yung timing. Di ba mahalaga yung timing? Kailan nila hiningi? No? Yung precautionary hold departure order. Ibig sabihin, makukuha mo matitrace mo, kailan ba sila na-trigger? Kailan ba na-trigger yung ombudsman para gawin ito? At bakit sila na-trigger?
Actually, Ronald, isa sa mga trigger dyan, no, yung nagpapatuloy nga ng preliminary investigation laban dito kay dating House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Yung mga nabanggit natin kanina, yung mga posibleng paglabag sa plunder, graft laws, at indirect bribery at money laundering, no, and even yung AMLAC, kinakalabit na nga nila, no, para aksyonan yung pag-freeze ng mga assets dito, no. Pero nakalagay doon, Ronald, sa ex parte request ng Office of the Ombudsman, no, parang April 20 talaga lumalabas na ipinasa ito sa kanilang special prosecutor and then minove na sa Sandigan Bayan 7th Division. At actually tayo initially gray area sa atin yung naging hakbang na ito dahil talagang palaisipan, no, kung ano nga yung naging kapangyarihan ni Ombudsman Boyeng Remulla para magkaroon ng ganong pronouncement na hindi nila pinayagan lumabas ng bansa at kinukulit sila, but later on, no, nakumpirma nga natin na hinirequest na nila ito sa Sandigan Bayan.
Actually, namuntikan sila dyan eh. Kasi yung,
Muntik talaga.
yung travel request niya was dated April 20, Monday.
And it's
Same.
approved. And it's
Yeah.
approved.
It was
Boc Ed.
approved.
Tama.
Nabalitaan natin ng Tuesday, umaalma na si Boyeng Rimulya at sabi ni Boyeng Rimulya, nireject niya yung travel clearance.
Yeah.
At doon pa lang siya humingi ng precautionary hold
PHDO.
departure order.
Yes. Oo.
At lumabas yung HDO ngayong Wednesday.
Yeah.
So may 3-day delay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll leave that there. Thank you so much for your reporting. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos from the Sandigan Bayan.
Thank you, Arles.
Salamat, Arles.
Parang ikaw, no, Ronald, nakalabas before the PHDO is issued.
Oh, mukhang nandito rin yata yung Vice President sa
Okay.
area ko.
You're watching Sorcon on Money.
si Nadine Lustre, nandito rin.
Okay. I guess may celebrity event there, kaya nandun si Ronald. Okay, you're watching Sorcon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news in the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Regina Lay. Still with us, Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit. Also joining us this afternoon, House Justice Committee member and Bicol Sauro Party List Representative, Congressman Terry Ridon. Welcome back to Storycon, Congressman Ridon.
Ay, magandang hapon. Maraming salamat sa pag-imbita.
Good afternoon, sir.
Gandang hapon, Kong.
That was a marathon hearing yesterday, Congressman Ridon. What was your assessment?
I think we have established probable cause over unexplained wealth and silent violations yesterday. Absolutely overwhelming showing of probable cause over the 6.7 billion in total transactions of the Duterte Carpio couple.
Kong, meron pa ba mga susunod na buntot yung usapin ng unexplained wealth or bagong chapter naman yung susunod na hearing, totally different?
Tatapusin lang yung usapin dun sa BIR kasi ano yung nakabitin eh. We different action for next week dyan po sa unsealing po ng box, but I'm quite sure we will unseal it next week. I reject the position of the BIR na hindi ho yan pwedeng buksan even given yung provision na binabanggit nila kasi like what I stated, Congress isn't requesting the BIR to give the information. It is a subpoena. It is a compulsory process. The provision that they were stating is different. Yan po yung parang upon request daw ng Congress during for a matter in aid of legislation, in executive session daw po. Pero ano yun, that is a completely different provision. So ito po is being done in exercise of a constituent power, no, yung impeachment proceeding.
The provision they're talking about is Section 20A of the National Internal Revenue Code. And there are some lawmakers, some of your colleagues are saying that it doesn't specify, that the tax records can only be open in aid of legislation. And since that hearing was not in aid of legislation, hindi daw pwede. How do you think this is going to play out? Are you confident? I mean, I guess you want to open the box, but are you confident you're going to get there?
I think we'll get there. Kasi alam po ninyo, pagka hindi ho in-unseal today, even if it crosses into trial, it's not gonna get unsealed. Kasi if we will apply that same provision, hindi ho yung ganun. Kaya nga, ang sinasabi ko, hindi yan applicable in impeachment proceedings. Diba? They have to honor the subpoena, and they did honor the subpoena, and included in that subpoena is also the unsealing of the documents. Kasi pagka tawid sa trial, anong sasabihin ng BIR? Your Honor, this is not in aid of legislation. Di ba? So we still cannot unseal it. Di ba? So that basically defeats the cause of justice. Di ba?
Sir,
At saka,
sabi
di ba, Kong, sui generis ang impeachment eh. No? Sui generis eh. Ibig sabihin, yung pagsabpina nyo ay merong backup yan ng power eh. Ng power hindi lamang ng Congress, kundi nung proseso ng impeachment. So, kung halimbawa, hindi pa rin papayag yung BIR na yan, seal yan, ano magiging recourse nyo?
Hindi. I don't think it's for the BIR to actually even debate with us. It is just for Congress to decide next week to seal or unseal. So, irrelevant na po yung BIR on that decision. It is a decision that will be made by the House Committee on Justice to seal or unseal next week.
Sir, balayo ko lang yung sabi nyo kanina na absolutely overwhelming yung evidence that would show probable cause of unexplained wealth. The VP's supporters, the VP's camp actually is making the case na yung transactions involving the time when she was the vice president, maliit lang ang galaw ng pera. And yung malaking galaw ng pera were not in the time when she was vice president. I think that was the time she was mayor. And then Vice Mayor of Davao City. Anong tingin niyo magiging bearing nun kung may ganung paghihimay doon sa impeachment case?
Alam niyo, that particular defense doesn't make sense kasi yung net worth discourse necessarily includes a look back to 2007. Hindi ba? So justifying yung pong net worth and comparing it to everything else justifies a look back to 2007 as well or 2006 as well, di ba? Para makita ho talaga natin, okay, yan talaga inabot ng pera niya. Okay, yan yung inabot ng mga transactions niya. So, ano yun? Hindi ho yung nag-make ng sense, no? Kailangan ho talaga magkaroon ng look back para makita natin ano ba yung total volume of transactions that had been undertaken from then up until 2024.
Yes, sir.
Kasi,
Yes, sir.
Kasi supposedly, yan yung yung net worth, 88 million, should be the reflection of the actual wealth of the Vice President.
Yes, sir. I understand, sir, the need to look back. But my question has to do with with the legal bearing of the numbers when it comes to the time when she was the vice president na.
Hindi. Oo nga. Pero we will still have to contend with the current most latest SALN. Di ba? So for anyone to explain the most latest SALN, you have to do a look back to everything before, di ba?
Yeah.
That is the same logic of looking into the banking transactions from 2024 back to 2007. Para ibig sabihin, apples to apples yung comparison na, okay, magkaiba talaga. But even, sige, okay na yan. But granting, pag-usapan na natin yung depensa nila, 2022 to 2024. They gave a number, I think around 60 million. Di ba?
Yeah, mga ganun.
Sige. 88 million in net worth hindi ba?
Yeah.
Paano mag-aabot yung 60 million plus everything else in that SALN? Di sobra pa rin yun. Hindi ba?
Yeah,
So how
actually,
does it actually help the Vice President? I don't think it helps the Vice President.
I noticed that whilst the AMLAC Executive Director Ronel Buenaventura was reading every line of the transactions, you would stop him after to, put on the record her SALN for that year. The 88.5 million pesos that you're talking about is her declared net worth for 2024. That is the highest amount she's ever declared. But of course, yung AMLAC records show that there were 6.77 billion pesos that flowed through her and her husband's accounts in the past 20 years. And yet, she issued a statement today saying that all her assets and wealth were properly declared and supported by documents. Is it
At saka
possible? Is it possible at
Saka
all that may mga nasa ibang dokumento yon?
Yes, kasama doon
wala.
sa tanong ni Reg Kong ay ang sinasabi niya ay nagamit lang, na weaponize lang ang AMLAC dito sa investigasyon na ito. Kaya yun yung pinag-uusapan sana namin kanina na baka pa hindi ganun kadali na mamanipulate ang AMLAC. Pero yung kanyang letter na sagot, basically yun ang ini-imply.
Alam po ninyo, mahirap talaga ipaliwanag. Ganito na lang. 6.7 billion total transactions. O sige, wag na natin pag-usapan yun dahil may in and out yun. Nagpa-plus yun. Di ba? Pag-usapan na lang natin 1.5 billion inflows. Parang hindi pa rin mag-justify yun under any circumstance yung 1.5 billion in inflows into her account. Kasi ano ba siya? She was vice mayor, vice president, mayor, lawyer. Yung mga negosyo nakalista doon, hindi naman kumikita. So how in the world will we be able to explain to the nation paano nangyari na may 1.5 billion na pumasok dyan sa accounts na yan? Kung yan lang yung mga legitimate na makita po ninyo over the course of 20 years. Parang mahirap po yung ipaliwanag, di ba?
Yung SALN records niya po where she did not declare any cash or any cash in hand in
Bank
cash in
deposits.
banks. Well, I've never filed a SALN, so I can only go by what I've seen. Is this something unusual?
It's unusual kasi supposedly actually ang paliwanag nila kanina kasama daw sa others, pero
Kasama sa
nakakatawa
others.
yun eh. Kasi ang totoo, doon pong personal properties, kadalasan yung unang line item doon yung cash eh. Kasi
Yeah.
pangalawang line item po doon yung cash deposit. Kasi pagka personal properties, yun naman yung kadalasan kasi yun yung most liquid asset eh, di ba? Yung cash on hand. So parang mas malamang in all of the silence of everyone else, yan ho yung unang dalawang line item sa personal property. So it doesn't make sense yung sinasabi nilang commingled daw po sa others. No? Pero we will see, hindi ba, kung ano ho yung itsura nun. Kasi nga, parang masyadong yan, pagpapalusot na ng abogado yung ganun.
But is it possible, again, we're not lawyers here, is it possible that an argument can be made na somebody made a mistake in preparing the Vice President's SALN? Kasi parang, how believable is it for anybody not to have any cash on hand or cash in banks?
I don't want to talk about that. You know why? Because they stated already na naka-lump daw po sa others. So we will have to hook them onto what they stated in the press conference today.
Yeah. But
Di ba? Pero,
the other angle there, Congressman, is of course there's legal precedent, right? 2012 Supreme Court Chief Justice Renato Corona was impeached for failing to disclose assets in his SALN. In 2018, Chief Justice Sereno was removed by quo warranto petition, also for
Alin?
SALN issues, for misdeclarations in her SALN issues.
Or for failing to file when she was a professor in UP.
Yeah.
ngayon actually, yung visa po nung testimonya po ni Senator Trillanes, when we go to trial, actually, he has a list of the bank accounts of the Vice President. No? Ito yung hindi naipakita po yesterday. So, yung sa 2019 to 2024, pagka wala akong cash declared doon, we will check. We will open the bank accounts in trial. Pagka meron ho nakalagay doon ng mga 5 piso na average balance, cash balance doon po sa mga accounts po na yun over those particular periods.
Yeah.
Tapos po yung usapan.
A breaking story.
Yun ang tanong ko kanina, Kong. Yung mga iba pang hindi na talakay kahapon, yung ba ay pwede pa rin talakayin sa next hearing? Yung mga hindi na pa na
May mga loose
naipresenta
ends. Oo.
ni Senator Trillanes, yung ba ay pwede pang pag-usapan sa next hearing?
Yeah. Sorry, Kong, before you answer that, I just have to break some news. The ICC judges have confirmed the charges in the Crimes Against Humanity case against former President Rodrigo Duterte, and which means the
It goes to
case
trial.
will now proceed to full trial. Sorry, I just had to
Yes.
break that very quickly. Please go ahead in answering Ronald's question.
Tingin ko we will focus on, firstly, resolving the BIR question, no? And secondly, yung sa threat against the President. Kasi, mabababa lang naman yung threshold for probable cause eh. Tingin ko po, kahit like what I stated kanina, overwhelmingly, yung po nga pagpapakita ng probable cause yesterday on unexplained wealth. No? So, siguro ho, yung mga loose ends, basta relevant doon sa unexplained wealth, sa trial na lang po namin, and sa articles of impeachment po namin ipapasok.
So at this point, is it fair to say that the strongest case seems to be the unexplained wealth, the mismatch between the SALN and the financial transactions?
Tingin ko yan na po yung pinakamabigat. No? Actually, almost of equal weight din siyempre yung confidential funds misuse kasi clear din po yung basis po nung nung finding po doon. Pero ito talaga, mabigat po yan kasi nakakalula ho talaga yung bilang. Nung pong 6.7 billion total transactions, 1.5 billion inflows. Actually, kahit palitin pa natin yung investment-related activity, 200 to 300 million yung pinag-uusapan. So, at any lens na pag-usapan ho natin, sobrang layo pa rin ho nun sa 88 million po na fixed target na present net worth.
What about the fact that she Was it served on the board or was director of a company while she was a public official?
Side issues na lang ho yun. Siyempre, may ibang, ano pa ho yun, may ibang problema po yun. Kasi nga, supposedly, nag-divest siya. Diyan po sa kumpanya na yan, di ba? While she was, while serving as vice president. Tapos siyempre, meron din yung issue na she said na stockholder siya, pero when we check the the GIS of the company, hindi naman siya nakalista doon, di ba? So parang she probably perjured herself there or the company perjured. Pero side issues na lang po yun eh. Ang talaga naman pong naipakita kahapon, convincingly, merong sobrang perang malaki. Tapos ito lang ho yung actual na makita nila bilang mag-asawa at yung kanila pong mga kumpanya.
Do you foresee needing to at some point subpoena the bank records because that's a little bit legally contentious, hindi po ba? So do you think you'll need those records to make the case for this, to make probable cause established?
No, I think we will get to that point in trial na po.
It's a trial na. You have enough. You have enough material, you think?
So I think, for example, Senator Trillanes naman has the bank account numbers. So we can do a random subpoena request para dun sa mga accounts po na yun, para makita namin yung kung talaga nga bang within the 2019 and 2024 periods, wala ba talagang pera dun sa mga bangko na yun.
Feeling ko you're
We
gonna...
will do that in trial, I'm sure.
Oh, so wait for that in trial, not at this point of the, not at this part of the process. Okay?
Kong, pwede mo na bang sabihin, indicatively, kailan magbobotohan sa plenary?
Yung plenary, hindi ko pa masabi. Pero ang previous kong sinabi is like end of May or middle of May. Tingin ko we can do it early to middle of May. Kasi magbobotohan na po sa next week for probable cause.
Next week na.
After the 29th hearing.
I think. Kasi tingin ko maigsi lang naman po yung sa threats against the president. Isasalang lang ho na maigsi yung NBI kung kumusta ho yung investigation nila. And obviously, yung pong evidence on threats against the president is, clear for everyone. It was a video press conference, di ba? And we had seen the threat. So, I don't think we need to belabor the point.
So you think immediately after the hearing on the 29th, you should be able to put it to a vote?
I think in the afternoon of the 29th, there will be a vote on probable cause.
Okay. We'll monitor that closely again, of course. But we'll leave that there. Thanks so much for taking time out for us today. We know it's been a very long week for you, but thank you so much, Congressman Terry Ridon,
Thank you,
House
sir.
Justice Committee member.
Thank you. Magandang hapon.
Munti ko lang itanong hindi ko alam kung proper. Tatanong ko sana kay Kong Terry kung may epekto sa botohan sa plenary itong mga isinasampang kaso kay former Speaker Martin Romualdez.
I mean, I guess it will run in parallel, no? Pero before we cut to break, again, ulitin lang natin yung breaking news this hour, which is the International Criminal Court has confirmed the charges of crimes against humanity against former President Rodrigo Duterte, meaning the case will proceed to a full trial. We don't know when
Yes.
that trial will be, but anyway, today they issued a statement saying it has been confirmed. Hindi pa rin natin alam.
Medyo napaaga ng konti, Reg. Paano
Yes,
ang maximum kasi niyan on the 29th?
Hindi rin natin alam how the judges voted. But we'll get those details in the coming days, I guess. But, okay.
Okay, we're on until 5:30 p.m. Storcon will be back after a quick break. Please stay tuned.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
Welcome back to StoryCon. I'm Regina Lee.
I'm Ed Lingao, and of course with us, Raul Llamas, the international man of mystery.
The ICC pre-trial chamber judges voted unanimously to confirm Rodrigo Duterte's charges against humanity hearing. Unanimous meaning all three of them voted that there are substantial grounds to believe that crimes against humanity were committed in the Philippines between November 1, 2011 to March 16, 2019. The defense cannot directly appeal this decision, but they can ask permission from the pretrial chamber to appeal. So again, the defense will not be able to appeal this directly, but they can ask permission from the pretrial chamber to appeal this decision. But the decision was unanimous.
Okay. Sige, mahaba-haba pa to eh. Kailangan pang basahin. Sige.
Yeah. No,
Let's bring in-
they issued a statement.
Yeah. Ano, let's bring in our next guest.
Wala pa.
Wala pa ba? Okay. Sorry, I thought he was... No, he was here na kanina eh.
Ikaw yata ang nag...
Very very compelling yan dahil after nung boto sa jurisdiction na near consensus, tapos yung consensus na yan dun sa confirmation hearing. Kaya tama si Panelo.
Again, first time you agreed with him, ganon.
Oo. Tsaka kay Kaufman.
Okay.
Magpapatuloy pa kaya yung sahod ni Kaufman?
Good question. Good
Oh,
question. This will
papatuloy
now be committed to a different trial chamber.
Uh-huh.
Not the pre-trial chamber, different trial chamber, different set of judges. So it's not
Yes.
clear if they will retain him, considering that none of his motions have been approved. Every motion he's filed so far has been denied.
In relation
Ang
to his
kailangan mo
role
unawaan
as
ng
President
ating
of the
tagapakinig
Philippines,
na iba-iba yung mga judges sa particular phases ng trial.
Oo,
No?
correct.
Iba doon sa confirmation, iba doon sa trial proper, iba doon sa appeals court. May appeals court pa yan eh.
Well, I'm reading portions of it lang. The evidence further shows that according to the Constitution of the Philippines as specified by the ALG Act of 1990, Mr. Duterte as mayor of Davao City had formal operational supervision and control over the police units in Davao City. This is in reference to the investigation nung panahon na siya pa'y mayor ng Davao. In relation to his role as President of the Philippines from June 30, the evidentiary material supports Mr. Duterte being the repository of executive powers with general supervision over local governments and control of all the executive departments, bureaus, and offices, including the PNP, PDEA, NBI, and Bucor. Evidence shows that in their respective roles in Davao and the national level, the co-perpetrators appointed by Mr. Duterte used their authority over direct perpetrators to ensure the commission of the crimes in furtherance of the criminal policy established with Mr. Duterte. For instance, some co-perpetrators issued the PNP Anti-Illegal Drugs Campaign Plan.
You can imagine, though, that some people might believe that there's a grand conspiracy going on kasi sabay-sabay. Yesterday at the lower house.
And tapos yung pagpalit pa dun sa director ng AMLAC.
You know why he resigned? And I heard this from insider sources. He was very, very stressed out by the job already. And remember that Boying Remulla also lashed out at the then AMLAC director, si Matthew David, saying that parang hindi cooperative or something along those lines.
But you see the optics kasi it's playing out in
How
social media.
convenient, diba?
It's playing out in social media. It's one of the arguments coming out.
The previous AMLAC executive director resigned because he was very stressed out by the job, and he requested the BSP to go back to the parent organization, which is the BSP. And that's why nagpalit. Not because
Baka,
this guy...
Reg, baka it's more complicated than that. Pero hindi lang ako magkasalita.
Kwentuhan mo kami. Sige.
Baka,
Balik mo.
did he resign voluntarily or was he pushed out?
Yung ngitingi, no?
Could be both.
Because there were also some things na hinahabol natin from AMLAC. For example, the report on the flood control investigation. Diba, nag-freeze nila yung mga bank accounts ng mga contractors and all the other personalities involved. But after 30 days, we don't know what happened to it. We were asking for it, and they never provided anything. So I don't know if it's related to that as well.
Mr. Duterte's public statements before and during his presidency further contained clear directives and incitement to kill criminals, including drug dealers, as well as promises to protect, pardon, and promote direct perpetrators involved in killings.
Nako.
Witness redacted, name redacted, states that Mr. Duterte's statements encouraged him to kill a person. The evidence shows that Mr. Duterte provided personnel and logistical resources to further the commission of the crime.
That is exactly what the defense fought back on, saying that that was just rhetoric on his part, that was not explicit instruction to
What's
kill.
the favorite word used? Hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
Hyperbole. Yeah, that's what the
In his
defense
public statements,
argued.
Mr. Duterte also referred to and promised financial rewards for killing alleged criminals, both as mayor of Davao City in the lead up to his presidency in 2016. This is corroborated by witness redacted, and witness redacted, who explained that law enforcement officers and DDS hitmen would receive a reward for killing alleged criminals. Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's bring in our next guest for today. The man we saw yesterday sa House Committee hearing.
Marami tayo nakita yesterday ko naman.
Former
Man-
Senator San Trillanes.
Welcome back to Storycon, Senator. And before we ask you anything, I'm not sure if you've heard, but just breaking news just a few minutes ago, the ICC has confirmed the charges against former President Rodrigo Duterte over the crimes against humanity charge. Unanimous po yung decision, which means this will proceed to a full trial.
Reg, baka si Senator ang pinaka-least surprised dyan.
Kaya nga, I was about to say, you don't look surprised.
Well, magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Ano? Well, yes, in a way, we have expected this kasi alam natin na airtight yung kaso na i-prepare dito. And alam nyo, yung talagang, yung primary mandate ng ICC, ito na to. This is the case na kung bakit nag-exist o bakit create yung ICC to begin with. A head of government like Duterte who abused his powers to oppress his own people. So ito yon. And at least masaya tayo na we've gone past this stage. Ang next ito is yung pagsiset na ng trial.
Okay. Sir, yung kahapon, marami na deja vu kahapon eh. Doon sa yung binasan yung affidavit at yung nagpagtutugma doon sa AMLAC reports.
Teka lang, first of all, do you feel vindicated? People are saying that you should.
Well, yes, ano, pero secondary lang kasi 'yon, ano. I'm not exactly elated over that personal vindication kasi the damage has been done eh. Alam nyo kung naniwala yung mga kababayan natin noong 2016 when they first brought this out, sana we have spared our country nung Duterte dark years, ano. But yun na yan, water under the bridge na yan. Importante nito, natuldukan na yan yung pagbavalidate ng mga allegations ko. Sana lang madala ito o magtungo ito sa conviction ni Sara Duterte sa impeachment.
But I'll also bring in another person who appeared to have dropped off the face of the earth. Somebody also from 2018. You do remember Deputy Ombudsman Arthur Carandang, who basically
Started
affirmed,
investigating.
Investigated and basically affirmed the details that you presented as early as 2016. And of course, we know what happened to him. He was fired by Malacanang, by the Executive Secretary, and he was stripped of all benefits. Have you been able to get in touch with him? Any news as to whether or not he's also going to appear and also going to be giving a statement?
Well, sa pagkakaalam ko, na nakatigan siya ng Court of Appeals and eventually Korte Suprema. Kaya na-restore na yung kanyang mga benefits.
Benefits. Okay.
Pension. So, in a way, nagkaroon na rin siya ng personal vindication and restitution with what happened. So, but ito kasi, kung hindi lumabas yung AMLAC, kakailanganin si Deputy Ombudsman Carandang. But since dumiretso na sa AMLAC, his testimony may not be necessary anymore.
Because they're talking about the same report anyway.
Yes.
Yes.
At mas current yung sa AMLAC ngayon, more than what I presented and what the Deputy Ombudsman saw also. So ngayon, current ito eh. Yan.
Ronald?
Yeah, meron kayong mga alam pa, Senator, na hindi pa lumabas diyan sa hearing kahapon. Inaasahan nyo ba na yan ay mapag-uusapan pa doon sa susunod na justice hearing, or yan ay mas lalabas doon sa Senate trial?
Yung kasing nalalaman ko pa na hindi pa nalalabas, nagse-center mainly on Rodrigo Duterte, the father, at kina Pulong at Manscarpio. At pero itong related to the impeachment, yung pera ni Sara at ni Mans ay nailabas na kahapon. Kaya nga yung mga manager's checks na nakuha ng pamilya Duterte from the drug lord ay nailabas ko na yon. At inacknowledge ng AMLAC yon. All three na natanggap ni Sara Duterte, inacknowledge ng AMLAC.
Well, in fact, all 18 random transactions that Congressman De Lima pointed out that she picked randomly were verified by AMLAC as appearing in their financial report as well. But for those who don't know the backstory, who is Joseph De Mesa, the whistleblower, and how did he have access to these records?
So ito pong si Joseph De Mesa, nag-walk-in ito dun sa aming Magdalo headquarters sa Quezon City. So nagkaroon ng initial vetting yung mga staff ko doon. Then eventually na-set up yung meeting with me ng 8 p.m. No? Tapos more than checking or vetting this person's background, mas nakatuto kami dun sa information. Kasi kahit na nag-check out yung mga bona fides niya, but kung bogus naman yung impormasyon niya, so wala ring value. So after being satisfied dun sa initial vetting nitong tao na to, yung access and placement niya doon sa information na hawak niya, so nakatutok na kami doon sa information. So we did all the necessary spade work to check the veracity of the information na binigay niya. Then ultimately, yun na nga, no? Naghulog pa doon, nag-deposit pa, and eventually, napaamin si Duterte mismo. So nung umamin na si Duterte on video doon sa existence ng mga accounts na yon, doon na kami nag-focus kasi yun yung may mabigat na impormasyon. Yun po.
But when he admitted it, he said nagastos na daw niya yung, was it 200 million plus yung laman? Sabi niya nagastos na daw niya yung laman ng bank account.
Yes, pero ganun yung style ni Duterte, di ba? Sasalita siya ng mga sprinkle of truth, then hahalungan niya na ng mga kung ano-ano. Pero ang importante doon, inacknowledge niya yung existence ng accounts. Then, therefore, nakita na namin, ito na nga, no? Ang total, based on our analysis, 2.4 billion pesos, yung joint account ni Sara and ni Digong. Ang pinakang blunder ni Duterte dito ay ginawa niyang joint kay Sara. Kung hindi niya ginawang joint yon, hindi natin pinag-uusapan ito ngayon. Pero naging joint siya, kaya kasama siya dito sa impeachment case. Now, based on our analysis, 2.4 billion pesos yung pumasok. At may pattern yung pagpasok nung mga pera dito. Nagko-coincide siya doon sa March 28 or April na deposit and also October. Palaging ganon. March, April, then October na nag-similar doon sa checks na ginawa ni Sammy Uy na binigay do sa pamilya from 2011 to 2013, which led us to conclude na parehas yung source nito. Si Sammy Uy ito. Kasi parehas eh. Siguro nung na-realize sila na kailangan nila wala ng paper trail, sa kanila na interbank transfers na lang yung ginagawa.
Si Manny Piñol has a Facebook post saying, acknowledging that they know Sammy Uy, but Manny Piñol is also insisting na Sammy Uy is number one, not a drug lord, number two, a legitimate businessman, and number three, somebody who's just being very helpful with with the former president. So basically, he's saying, yeah, he's real, he's linked to them, he's affiliated with them, pero he's got nothing to do with the drug issue.
Si Manny Piñol, the former agriculture secretary, and in fact, it's not just Manny Piñol. I've also seen that same post from other people that there's absolutely no evidence he's a drug lord daw.
Okay, ganito po. What did the records show? Yung 18 kasi na randomly selected na accounts, galing yun doon sa mga dokumentong prinesent ko, so in-acknowledge na AMLAC. Yung 3 of the 18, ito yung mga cheque na binigay ni Sammy Uy kay Sara. Ngayon, hindi nadala nung AMLAC kasi nga hindi kasama dito sina Pulong, Baste, Hanilet, and the others. Pero, ando doon, makikita mo yung pattern. 40 to 50 million pesos every 6 months ang binibigay ni Sammy Uy dito sa mga pamilya na ito. Ngayon, ano yung negosyo na nagbibigay ng dividendo ng ganyan? Remember, this was 2011 to 2013 while Sara was still mayor of Davao City. Hindi pa presidente si Digong. So, anong negosyo yon? He will have to justify that. Pero ito na ngayon. Ang testigo na nagsasabi na drug lord si Sammy Uy ay si Las Cañas. Kanina we are celebrating the confirmation of charges ng ICC, no? Sa kaso ni Digong. Sino ang star witness diyan? Sino yung nagsabi na provide ng means, logistics, lahat ng utos? Si Duterte. Nagsimula yan ng Davao, si Arturo Las Cañas yun. At si Sammy Uy, incorporated yung participation niya doon sa testimonya niya doon sa ICC. So ngayon, compare Mr. Las Cañas with Mr. Sino yung sinabi nyo na nag-vouch kay Sammy Uy?
Si Manny Piñol.
Manny Piñol, edi palagay ko, mas magre-rely ka dun sa insider na ito na na-scrutinize na ng ICC mismo.
Although on the other hand, even
Senator,
if he
Senator,
has
may isa pa kasing may isa pang nalilink sa drugs na nagbibigay din ng pera kay Sara, si Michael Yang. Ito, kung talaga to, fugitive ito. Na-link ito, pinakahuli yung more than 6 billion drug bust sa Angeles City. Yun ang naging dahilan kung bakit siya ay lumabas ng bansa dahil hinahunting siya batay dyan. At yan ay dating Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship ni Digong. So, yan ay clearly ay drug lord, no? And a fugitive. Pwede niyo bang mas i-emphasize ano yung role niya dito sa mga nabuksan na mga accounts ni Sara? No? In-specify niyo kasi yung kay Sammy Uy, 40 to 50 million monthly. Ito, si Michael Yang.
So, ito po kasi ang setup nila. Si Sammy Uy, Michael Yang, at Charlie Tan, sila yung triumvirate, yung Davao Cartel. So, ang kapartner nila, si Digong, na siya rin ang nagpo-protect sa kanila. So, siya rin ang kumaga muscle. Siya yung pumapatay ng mga kompetensya nitong cartel nila Digong. Tapos, nung naging presidente na si Digong, na-elevate na rin sila. Yung stature nila, buong Pilipinas na ngayon. At hindi na sila lang sa droga. Kasi nga, nakita nila yung lucrative business ng Pogo, nung COVID, yung Pharmally, kaya nag-diversify sila. So, yan na ngayon ang sinakop nila na iba't ibang pwedeng pagkakitaan while Duterte was president. At ito si Michael Yang Colonel Asierto na siya yung deputy head ng PNP Drug Enforcement Group na meron siyang report na drug lord ito. So yun, 'di ba? Ngayon, ang sinasabi ni Las Cañas na-corroborate na dito ng iba't ibang sources. Ngayon, sabi ko nga, they will have to vouch for Sami Uy. Tanungin nila saan yung galing yung pera na yon, di ba? At titignan natin yung tax history niya. Ano ba? Kung mag-yield ka ng 40 to 50 million pesos na dividendo, kailangan malaki yung revenue niyang negosyo na yan, whatever that is, at dapat nagbabayad ka ng corresponding tax dyan. So mamimilipit sila dyan pagka sinubject sa microscope itong mga ito.
Although sir, even if one were to assume that these are not drug lords, a regular deposit to a politician by a businessman may run afoul of the anti-graft law.
Yes. Opo, bribery po yan. Bribery and corruption, which is also part of the impeachment offenses. Tapos overall, betrayal of public trust yan. Bakit kayo tumatanggap ng ganyan? Ano ba yan? Di ho ba? Alam niyo ho kasi, karamihan ng mga mga Filipino or observers, binibigyan sila ng benefit of the doubt. Despite everything, bakit nyo pa rin bibigyan ng benefit of the doubt? Eto na marami ng ebidensyang lumalabas. At ito na nga, yung motivation of the accusers, di ba? Bakit naman sasabihin ni Las Cañas na drug lord yan si Sami Uy kung hindi naman? Di ba? And so, yun po. Sa ICC niya sinasabi ito eh. Yun po ang background nitong lahat.
Tsaka hindi lang siya senator, pati si Asierto. By the way, nasaan na ba si Asierto ngayon? Parang hindi na siya lumantad.
Si Colonel Asierto po ay na-absuelto na siya doon sa ibang kaso, pero meron pa rin siyang kinakaharap na ibang kaso. Pero siya rin ay magiging testigo sa ICC. At ano po yan? Marami na nga ho. The evidence are there if only bubuksan natin yung ating mga mata at tatanggapin natin itong realidad na ito na naisahan ang taong bayan na itong nagpapanggap na anti-drug crusader na presidente has been pretending all along na yung pala siya ang mismong nagpapatakbo ng sarili niyang drug cartel. Ngayon itong pera na ito, yung bank accounts na ito yung mga dividendo nito. Kumaga set aside money ito para sa lahat ng miyembro ng pamilya. Yan ang proceeds.
Well, sir, yesterday we had magnificent numbers being tossed around of the amounts or the amounts being transacted, the inflows and the outflows. But siyempre, wala tayo kahapon, and I don't know if we will ever get to see this, is what are the amounts involved inside the accounts right now? Do we have those, and will we ever see those?
Ang assumption po natin dito ay nailabas na nila yung pera. Okay? Pero yun na nga, the beauty of this AMLAC system is kahit na maglabas ka na ng pera, ano na ito
May money trail ka.
Forever etched into the system na itong mga movement na ito. Kaya hindi na mabubura, hindi na matatago. At ngayon, ang kailangan pa rin nila, ang problema pa rin ni Sara Duterte ay yung salin niya hindi na rin niya pwedeng buraburahin. Regardless of kung anong balanse ngayon, pero andyan din. Tapos isa pang blunder ni Sara Duterte ay wala siyang dineclare na cash on hand tsaka cash on bank. So, kahit 2 milyon yung balancing na iwan, it's still a violation. Pero isa pang na-overlook nila na si Mans Carpio at si Sara Duterte, based on Philippine laws, conjugal yan, conjugal property yan. So kahit si Sara Duterte hindi nagpapasok ng pera, pero si Mans Carpio ay labas-pasok din yung pera, pero hindi nila nire-report every time. Every year, hindi sila nagsasabi ng totoo sa kanilang salin. So lahat ito, betrayal of public trust, di ba? Graft and corruption, tapos part ng other high crimes na all impeachable offenses. Yun po yun.
You said you had more to reveal, Senator?
Ang nasabi ko po kanina kay Sec Ronald ay yung iba ko pa pong nalalaman ay ang sakop na ay yung ibang miyembro ng pamilya. Hindi
hindi na
naman po
Oo.
kay Sara Duterte kasi so di sa impeachment very very strict sila na kailangan ito lang.
Yeah. But
Sakop lang.
you can tell us now if you want.
Tayo naman nandito eh.
Apo. Well, I have filed cases against kay Mans Carpio at Pulong. Tapos doon po sa 186 page na affidavit ni Las Cañas, marami po tayo makikita doon. Kung paano yung sindikato nila sa Davao Customs, sila ang nag-control noon. Tapos yung kanilang involvement doon sa Mexican drug cartels, yan, aside doon sa Chinese triads, lahat po yan nandoon po.
Kasama ba dyan, Senator, yung alleged na pagpasok ng mga droga na nahuli sa Valenzuela, yung mga container pero wala nang laman? Ikaw yung nag-expose nun eh,
Opo.
several years ago.
Opo, kasama po 'yon at na-filean ko na ng kaso 'yon sa DOJ and hopefully ay lalakad na anytime yung preliminary investigation nun at marami pong nakaano doon. Maraming ready to squeal or ready to jump ship dun sa mga ilan sana akusahan doon.
Jump ship? Meaning, leave the country, leave the party?
No. Magsisqueal.
Jump ship sa mga Duterte.
Okay. Okay. We'll leave that there.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining Storycon. We hope to have you back another time. May pag-uusapan pa po tayo about, politika. But for now, we'll leave that there. Thanks so much for talking to us, former Senator Sonny Trillanes.
Thank you, sir.
Salamat, Senator.
Salamat po.
That's all the time we have for today, but we will leave you with the soundbite, the clip of the ICC spokesperson explaining their decision on the charges against former President Duterte over the
Sorry.
over the crimes against humanity. Nagulat ka ba sa charges? Over crimes against humanity. Thanks for joining Storycon today. Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Edlin Gao, kapatid. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Today, the judges of Pretrial Chamber 1 of the International Criminal Court unanimously confirmed all the charges against Rodrigo Roa Duterte and committed him to trial before a trial chamber. Pretrial Chamber 1 concluded that there are substantial grounds to believe that Mr. Duterte is responsible for the crimes against humanity of murder and attempted murder. These crimes were allegedly committed as part of a widespread and systematic attack against the civilian population on the territory of the Republic of the Philippines between the 1st of November 2011 and the 16th of March 2019 in the context of the War on Drugs campaign. The judges based their decision on the evidence and arguments presented by the prosecutor and the defense during the confirmation of charges which took place in February 2026. The judges also considered the submissions of the parties and participants, including participating victims. The defense and the prosecution are not automatically entitled to appeal to this decision, but they can request authorization from the pretrial chamber to do so. The case will be transferred to a trial chamber composed of 3 different judges who will decide on the next steps leading up to the trial. Trials at the ICC are fair and impartial, and the defense will have sufficient time to prepare its case while respecting the rights of victims.